Well, it's our first series loss against a team under 500. The Angels didn't capitalize on very much. They had an opportunity to win the series this last weekend, and they didn't. So what do we do now? Let's talk about it. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And Johnny and I thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts, including now Sirius XM by searching Locked On Angels. Hello, we're glad to be here. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. Thank you to those that have done that recently. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed to the show and be sure to click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We're happy to be your team every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. You've got constant Angels coverage here on Locked On Angels. It's our second season here with you. We're happy to be here. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, don't forget that we're headed to Baltimore to play the Baltimore Orioles, or the Baltimore Orioles, just trying to save time. This week, 4 games, Mike, against the Baltimore Orioles. And man, we're going to be recapping each one of those. And of course, talking about all the things that we need to be talking about this week, including Ryan Tepera being DFAd, what happened there. We'll talk about that on today's show. Let's go back to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and talk about this Guardians series. Mike, it feels like deja vu. I feel like we were here just a week ago, upset about the Rangers series. So now here we are again, starting with Friday's game. That was a win after a big comeback late in the 9th, thanks to some heroics there from Mike Trout and a few others here, right?
Yeah, Angels won 5-4, and I loved this game, and then I also hated this game. I loved it because they showed some grit. They fought back. I hated it because I didn't know what was going to happen the next couple of days. The good news about this entire weekend, Johnny, is that the Angels did show at moments some comeback, some grit, some fight, which I loved, and Friday night kind of started that whole thing. They scored twice against Emmanuel Clase, and he is a tough closer. Mike Trout sparked it with a leadoff double, and then a pinch runner for Anthony Rendon while Renfroe was batting. Thought that was interesting. We'll talk about Phil Nevin's decisions in just a moment. But then an RBI ground out. It actually wasn't even a ground out. It was just an RBI on the ground of the second baseman, and Mike Trout scored. And I loved that the runners moved over. I loved that Renfroe made contact. I loved everything about that. It felt like good, smart baseball. And then Brandon Drury hit a sac fly to give the Halos a lead. And then Carlos Estevez comes in and closes the game out, gets his 9th save. And it was one of those games that we thought, okay, here we go. This is going to be a good weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like we had an opportunity to really put our foot to the throat against the Guardians, right? To really crush them, and coming back and taking this game was huge. And what I liked about this game specifically, Johnny, was that the Angels did show a lot of fight. What I didn't like is some of the indicators of why this team is struggling happened in that game on Friday. So just a couple of examples. First, bases loaded, nobody out, no runs in the top of the 5th.
Right.
The game shouldn't have been 5-4. It should have been 10-4, right?
Yeah, they shouldn't have needed a comeback win. No.
Exactly. And then 2 runners on, no outs in the 7th, no runs. and unfortunately, both times it was Brandon Drury who was up and got the final out. So he did redeem himself with a sac fly in the 9th inning. But these are the reasons why our starters and our relievers feel the pressure, because there is no breathing room. And we felt that on Sunday during Sunday's game when Carlos comes in. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
sure,
you can feel that these starters and relievers, they just have no breathing room. And it's why Matt Moore is fantastic.
Yeah.
But then he gives up that home run in Friday's game. And you think, oh man, we're sunk because the Halos haven't scored any runs and are not going to come back. And we put all of the pressure on Moore, who has been spectacular this season so far.
Right. Yeah. Josh Naylor got us for 3 home runs in each game, Mike. 1 on Friday, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. And they were all inside on the hands right there in the zone. And unfortunately, that's what Matt Moore gave him on Friday night. Fortunately, the Angels were able to keep it together, come back and get that comeback win. That was huge. Tyler Anderson did pretty well in this one, actually. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, which you're going to have hits against Anderson, right? He's going to be that ground ball guy. 3 runs, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, and 96 pitches. So a decent outing, much better than what we saw the last time out from Tyler Anderson. The walks there did not play a huge factor in terms of him giving at-bats away like he had been. But again, they were leadoff walks. You never want to see those. Those are going to hurt you. Fortunately, that the Angels were able to come back in those late innings. Those runners are always going to come back and hurt us. You never want to give off that leadoff walk or give up that leadoff walk, and that's what happened with Tyler Anderson. But again, I'll take 6 innings pitched, 3 runs. That's going to get you, that's going to keep you in the game with these Halo bats. They just have to show up. And fortunately, they did on Friday and even on the other games too. It was just too little too late for those other games. Now, regarding Phil Nevin deciding to wait to run for Rendon, again, he pinch ran Rendon right in the middle of Hunter Renfroe's at bat. It was like a 2-2 count or something. He said, I was going to wait until Tony got to second because I didn't want to lose his defense. But after Renfroe kept fouling them off, I thought he'd hit one in play. Nevin said, just was hoping he didn't line it to anybody. But I was going to send Phillips every pitch with a 2-2 count, just trying to make something happen. And then walking Naylor, this will come back later.
Yeah.
He walked Josh Naylor to load the bases. He said Naylor is an adrenaline junkie. I've seen him in huge moments and he can hit anybody's fastball. That's what I told Estevez. I said he could get Naylor out, but the guy on deck, Brennan, I feel really good about. And it worked out.
Yeah.
And that's true. So it kind of makes me question what the heck happened later on this weekend against Josh Naylor. And of course that comes on Sunday's game. Now I have to say, can I just address something?
Yes, please.
Okay. I tweeted from Super Halo Bros after we were frustrated with the big bats not coming through. And then, the rally and the comeback, like that all makes it go away, right? Like it's a win at the end of the day. I don't care how we got there. But I said, Trout and Ohtani owe it to Trout and Ohtani to get Trout and Ohtani to the playoffs.
Right.
And I got ripped a new one, Michael, because I made a little joke and it was funny just because they both came up short earlier in the game. And, people were saying, well, you're contributing to the toxic nature of Angel fandom and da-da-da-da-da. We don't need these jokes and yada, yada, yada. Like, I didn't write a dissertation or do a video essay on YouTube. Like,
just trying to be folksy.
I made a joke, just trying to be folksy. Made one little tweet. It got read into a whole bunch as if I was commenting on the entire state of Angeldom and fandom and what have you. And
here's what I would say to that. The only part that I didn't like was the fact that somebody tweeted and said, this feels like a Mike tweet. So for clarity, it's always John that tweets from our accounts, just so you know. But I thought that was funny. And I get why people would be frustrated with that. Listen, we've talked a lot about how Trout and Ohtani are awesome and how they have performed. But the comment comes really from a conversation that we've had with Angel fans and that we feel as well. Like, I'll give up a Mike Trout home run in the second inning if he's coming through in the 8th and 9th inning to actually give us the lead and help us win the game. Mm-hmm. And same thing with Shohei Ohtani. It is not a critique of how they're terrible or if they're not performing or if they're not actually helping this team and contributing to this team. That's not the critique. It's just I would rather have them as our stars come through when it counts. I look just down the 5 at Mookie Betts. That guy always seems to always be up in the right position in the right moment, and he hits a home run, and it's usually a game-tying or go-ahead home run. And it seems like, and maybe because we're seeing it every single day, and so time in erodes your awareness of, right? It seems like for Trout and Ohtani that they aren't coming through as often as, let's say, other big stars from other teams are coming through.
And just they came through just the other day against the Astros. Like, they did their part, right? It was Trout got on base, Ohtani hit that 2-run home run, so they're working on the comeback. So again, I mean, I know the stats, right? They're on baseball. We can all see them on Baseball Reference. We can all see them on FanGraphs.
And they're awesome. They're fantastic.
And
it's
they're
the goat and the unicorn. Yes. We acknowledge that, right? But we don't think that they're above a bit of like, this isn't actually awesome. Like, this would be great if this was a little bit better. Yeah.
And I mentioned it the next night when the Angels lost the 6-2 lead. And I think Ohtani I think he took a strikeout or something. And I said, see, that I'm not upset with, because Ohtani should have never been in that position
Right.
in the first place. It was
Right.
6-2,
Yeah.
and the Angels bullpen gave
Yep.
it away. So we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Hey, the Angels play the Baltimore Orioles, or the Baltimore Orioles, just trying to save time. Today at 3:35 Pacific, Ohtani is on the mound. Again, don't forget, 3:35 Pacific. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. And coming up on Locked On Angels, well, we talked about some of Phil Nevin's decision-making. What about Sunday? It seemed like there was a questionable call in regards to who to pitch to. We'll talk about all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. And the same comes to your vehicle when you're dealing with all of the parts that you need. You need parts that fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right and fits right the first time. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know if the part will fit or not, or your money back. And over 122 million parts are available on eBay Motors, so you got to check it out. They're going to get you back in the game in no time. So get the right parts, the right fit, at the right price on ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Again, Locked On Everydayers, join us every single day this week as we recap the series against the Baltimore Orioles, or the Baltimore Orioles. The Angels play the O's today at 3:35 Pacific. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Let's talk about Saturday. Saturday was a fantastic game to watch until the 8th inning.
Until it wasn't.
And so we're going to talk about the 8th inning first, just to get it out of our system so that we can cleanse our palate with actually what was great about this game. Unfortunately, the Angels lost 8-6. It shouldn't have even been 8-6. It was 6-2. And then Josh Naylor comes up and hits a 3-run home run and gives the Guardians the lead. And then another home run comes up after that. Jimenez hits a home run.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's a 6-run inning. And Johnny, it was all off of your boy, Ryan Tepera.
Don't put that evil on me.
And I know that there was like conversations about Andrew Wantz in that game as well. And here's my thought, Johnny. Andrew threw over 30 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were questions like, why was he in there that long? What was going on? Here's my defense for Andrew Wantz. He gave up ground balls that found the hole, and they were hitting the right spots.
Sure.
And what you want from your pitcher is to get the balls on the ground and allow your defense to have a chance.
Absolutely.
And so Jose Ramirez, he got a hit off of him, and he just found the hole between second and first base. Now, that doesn't mean that it was okay, but I think what Wantz showed there, he was tired, but what he showed there is he was still effectively pitching, even though these hitters who are good found the holes.
Sure.
Ryan Tepera was giving up softballs. Like, he was underhanding pitches up there. And I know that he didn't want to give up the home runs, and I know that he was probably upset about it. I just didn't like his body language or his face when he gave up the 3-run shot to Josh Naylor. What I felt in that moment was like, oh, yeah, there it is. You know, it reminds me of when the Angels were playing the Red Sox in the playoffs years ago, and Jared Washburn served up a cookie to David Ortiz, and Ortiz hit a home run to win the game, and Wash just had a smile on his face. And I know that he's not thinking like, oh, well, right. I know that it was probably just like hey, he beat me, but it's just a terrible look, right?
It's a terrible look.
Yes. And I get that they're not thinking about what we're thinking about, and they're not thinking about if the camera's on them or not, but it was just one of those moments where you go, yeah, this guy's done. And I'm not just saying like being DFA'd, which that happened, right? But this guy's just done. His 90-mile-an-hour fastball tops is just not going to get it done anymore.
Again, in on the hands, up in the zone, at Josh Naylor, right where he can pull it into the right field seats, just like he did on Friday, just like he did on Sunday, Saturday night, right there in his swing path, pull power. There it is, right? I think I looked at his average right now, and it's not great either. It's just guys have games like this, right? Yep. And where you put the ball right into their swing path, like they're going to hit that. That's right. That's their sweet spot. So you can't tell me with Ryan Tepera that there aren't younger better guys who have the opportunity to step up and take his spot. And
Yeah.
Again, Mike, it's frustrating that Nevin went with Tepera, but with runners on, like, first of all, he's got Andrew Wantz in there for the second inning because he doesn't want to go to a Tepera, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, maybe he should have gone to somebody like Tucker Davidson or Jaime Barria, guys who do well with clean innings.
Yeah.
And I think the lead was big enough to go with that. Now, having Andrew Wantz come out there again, you could tell he was tired. You could tell he was really worn out after throwing over those 30 pitches. He already pitched the inning before. So I think that there could have been a better decision on who to go to there.
Yeah.
But I also think like Wantz is a guy you can trust. And to go from Wantz to Tepera, it's just really frustrating. And it just goes to show why they had to get rid of him in the first place.
Sunday, Carlos comes in earlier than normal. This would have been the moment to bring Carlos Estevez into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but wouldn't it make more sense to bring him in right now because some of the guys might not be available? And what it does is Estevez can warm up quicker. They were talking about it on the TV side that getting up like Barria or Tucker might take a little bit longer. I'm bringing my closer in, and I want him to face the meat of the lineup.
Right.
I want him to be able to fight these guys and dominate these guys. He just got a save the night before, and quite honestly, he probably, it would mean that he wouldn't be available on Sunday, but that's okay because then you didn't use Matt Moore, and so Matt Moore could come in and maybe close the game. So it just makes more sense to bring Estevez in that moment than to bring in like a Tepera or even let Wantz go one more inning. I think I'm going to try to, if Wantz gives up some runs, then I'm bringing Carlos in to try to shut it down. And it's like a four out save, which I think he could have pulled off in that moment.
I think it could too. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, great game ruined by this Blowpen game because first of all, Mickey Moniak gets called up on his 25th birthday. He gets a leadoff home run. He's leading off. Let's not gloss over that, right? Yeah. And he also steals 2 bags. He goes 3 for 4 with a walk. Zach Neto has these 2 huge defensive plays. First, he gets this double play where he gets the ball right behind second base. Just so smooth, so quick. Then another double play where he caught the fly ball, but it bobbled.
Yeah.
And it didn't even look like he was going to make that play.
Right.
And then he was able to double up the runner at first. So he got a double play on that as well. So just so awesome to watch. There was a great pickoff in the 4th. Neto used his foot to block the bag, and it picked off Jose Ramirez. He gets a 2-run homer later on in the game, and it came after a 2-out error by Ahmed Rosario. So Neto really made him pay for that one with the 2-run home run. And then Hunter Renfroe saves a run with his arm.
Yeah.
With this incredible 1-hop throw from right field. And Rendon just put the glove out there. I don't even think he had to move the glove until he got the ball and tagged out the runner. And so it was great because it was Ahmed Rosario again, who was just being a beast in those first 2 games. And it was a play at third, and it ended the first inning. And fortunately, he caught Ahmed Rosario before Stephen Kwan was able to reach home. And that ended the inning. Yeah. The Guardians reviewed it. They lost the review, so they couldn't challenge later on. And so that actually was really helpful the rest of the way.
There were a couple of plays that they probably would have won the challenge, but because they lost that one, it was great. Johnny, I loved watching Reed Detmer's pitch in this game because he looked like a different guy. I know that he only went 5 innings. Best start since April 16th, by the way. Here's the biggest stat, I think. He only had 3 strikeouts. And I think that when you and I have talked about the pitching approach, the philosophy, and how Reed will strike out a bunch of guys, but then he's exhausted. He's blown up by the time he gets to the 4th, 5th inning. I think him having only 3 strikeouts actually allowed him to be a bit more successful in this game. And he was in line to get his first victory. Unfortunately, it got blown in this game, but it was good to see him actually perform and pitch well for the Halos on Saturday.
I hope this is something he can build off of, Mike, because while he did get into the 6th, wasn't able to get out of it. So that's when they made the pitching changes. And it all comes back to length from your starters.
Yeah.
These guys have to be able to go more than just 5 innings. I know that 5 is the bare minimum that you want to see out of a starter, but then you have games like this where you have Andrew Wantz coming in and pitching 2 innings, and then you got to go to a Tepera, right? Um, so all of that to say, great something for Reed to build off of here. I think that's really important. And then finally, Rendon left the game with groin tightness. He did not play on Sunday. He did take BP though, so that's a good sign. But again, just a frustrating loss after what happened on Friday. And then the Angels are just cruising until the end. Now, with Ryan Tepera being DFA'd, it was a move that could not come soon enough after that Saturday night blow up. Mike, I it's like we've said, the Angels are not stuck with the guys that they have. This is not a move out of necessity. This is something that, or I should say, the DFA not doing a DFA would be a move out of necessity, where it's like, oh, we really got to hold on to him. The Angels are not stuck with these guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know it's the middle of May, and you'd like these Angels to be in a better position, but we're not going to have a Ryan Tepera blow up ever again for the remainder of this series.
Yeah.
And we're not going to see a Blowpen disaster from him for the remainder of this season. And I think the Angels are starting to put the right pieces in place. They're not afraid to make decisions like this. We've seen it with Upton and Pujols and yada, yada, yada. And now that Tepera, even though he was owed $7 million, I think it's worth, the fact that he just has not been good for us. I think it's worth, it's time for him to go. And the Angels are going to be a very different team in the bullpen moving forward.
So let's take you to Sunday's game. And Sunday's game was an early game. It was on Peacock, which was an interesting. I didn't realize that they were actually doing that.
Everyone's doing baseball.
Everybody's a baseball,
now, right?
Baseball
CNN
fan,
and
right.
And,
yeah. So the Angels lose this one 4-3, and it was 1-1 for a long time. And then Josh Naylor, he just had a weekend. He had a great weekend. Johnny, when I look at this game compared to the game before, this one doesn't sting as much as the game before.
I get that.
It should have been a 2-1 series victory for the Halos.
Mm-hmm.
They should have gotten Saturday's game. This one, you brought in your best guy in the bullpen to face the guy who's been crushing us.
Yeah.
And they won this time, didn't they?
I think so. I think this is a tip your hat, Josh Naylor. You've had a great series. You're just having a great weekend. Like, everybody has these kinds of games. And I'll go back to the beginning, Mike, because I was very concerned that this game was going to end 1-0 in favor of the Guardians, because Zach Neto made a rare error that allowed a run to score. He also got the out on the play too, which was insane. But there was a rare error that allowed a run to score. So Patrick Sandoval had one unearned run for the majority of the game against Tanner Bybee, both from Mission Viejo, both high school pitchers, teammates, really awesome.
Good friends.
Pitchers duel, man. This was the definition of a pitchers duel. And so it's 1-0 for forever. They finally get to Tanner Bybee and make it 1-1. Both guys pitched into the 8th inning, Mike. That was crazy to see. And then the Angels did have a little bit of something going on in the 9th against Emmanuel Clase. Again, a guy who was one of the top closers, if not the top closer last season. He is really struggling this season. Gooby pointed out how low his strikeout numbers were this season, and that's a big part of his game. But here's the thing. I did the post-game video for this one, and I just feel like it was a lose-lose situation. You have Patrick Sandoval back out there for the 8th. He had given up a single. You've got him versus Jose Ramirez, who's a switch hitter. So Jose would have been batting right in that instance. They go to Josh Naylor, who has been nails against the Angels this weekend, because you like the idea of Carlos Estevez coming in and getting that out, and you feel fully confident in a guy like Estevez being able to do that. I don't know. I mean, do you challenge Jose Ramirez?
Right.
Do you let Patrick Sandoval cruise? Now, granted, he'd been cruising pretty well through most of this game. His previous at bat against Jose Ramirez was a double, something that you don't want to see in the moment like this that could score the run, and extend that lead, or not the lead, but break up that tie 1-1. I just felt like it was a lose-lose situation. You go to Naylor, who is a lefty, and a lot of people asked, well, why wouldn't they leave Sandoval in to get Naylor? It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Dude, the reverse splits for Sandoval against lefties are insane right now. They are hitting him very well. And so that's something that you really want to avoid. Now, again, this Estevez pitch was a changeup inside on the hands in the middle of the strike zone to Naylor from Estevez, and he hits it out. That pull power once again comes through for Josh Naylor. And man, it was so good to see Sandoval go deep into this game. 7 2/3 innings pitched. Again, he gave up 3 runs as a result of that home run. 2 of them were earned. And this is the first time they've lost to a sub 500 team in a series this season. And it's also opening up this road trip against a very tough Baltimore team that we're playing 4 games against. Mike, here's my struggle. It's if he leaves Patrick Sandoval in and Sandoval gives up the lead, then it's, Phil Nevin left him in too long. Or, then why'd you take Sandy out? He was cruising. I just think it's a lose-lose situation. I just think it's, hey, the Guardians were good that day. Josh Naylor was good that day. And that, I don't think you have to blame anybody in this situation. I think that's baseball, right?
Right. And the reason why it stings is because of what happened Saturday, and they should have had that game Saturday. And
right. It would have been such a non-issue if they had already won 2 games. Right.
Exactly. And so I think that's where, it's a lose-lose for Phil Nevin in this situation. I think moving forward, a couple of thoughts just to help us stay sane as Angel fans. We're game over 500, and we're a game, I think, under 500 for May. And if we get to 15 wins on average, we're going to get to 90 wins. And so there's still time for the Angels to actually get there. I think the Guardians are better than their record shows. And I think that this team isn't just the team that's been struggling so far this year. I think that they're the same team that went to the playoffs last year. And so maybe they're starting to get hot again, especially somebody like Naylor at first base. And that's fine. I think for the Angels, they need to be a bit quicker when it comes to decision-making on their players. I think what we've seen from a guy like Zach Neto, I know that he's probably an anomaly. Not everybody comes up and is suddenly excellent, but I think that what they need is that energy. I think they need that strength. I think they need that perspective. Having Logan O'Hoppe get hurt, I think really hurt this team, but Logan brought a lot of really great energy to this team. And so I think that they need some of the guys that are younger to come up, and I think they say to them, prove it, show me, what do you got? Right. And so Zach Weiss coming up, he needs to prove it. He needs to show it. I would be more inclined to be okay with Zach Weiss blowing up the last of an 8th inning, 9th inning game than a Ryan Tepera, because Zach is still figuring some things out. And I think what we need to do, and we've said this before on this pod, but I think it's really important, is we can't make any big decisions until we get to maybe mid-June and see where this team is really at, because June is always the make or break point for this Halos team. If you look at last year, we did start that losing streak in May, but June, we never really recovered. It was losing a lot of series. We win a game and then lose 2, or win 2 games and lose 4.
Yeah.
And so I think June matters. And so we have to pay attention to that. And we're still in this race in the AL West. We're behind 4.5 games as of this recording. The Astros are a half game ahead of us. People have been struggling. They haven't ran away. So we're still within striking distance. I think if I'm going to describe this team right now, Johnny, are they a playoff team? Are they not a playoff team? I think that this team is lurking. I think they're lurking. And they need to, Perry Manassian specifically, needs to figure out the gap between lurking and actually competing. And let me talk about NBA for just a moment. The Lakers started 2-10.
Yes.
And
everybody wrote them off.
Right.
Yeah.
They were done. Right. And then, God bless their GM. That guy figured it out, and he made some trades that got some really great players onto that team. I don't think we necessarily need to make some trades. I don't think it's off the table, but I think we need to start bringing up some of the young guys to let them infiltrate this team and change the vibe and change the culture and change the energy. And I think that those decisions need to be made a lot quicker, and I think they need to be made a lot sooner, and they need to be made with specific roles in mind, and allow the Angels to begin to be competitive and
Yeah.
not be a team that's just lurking and maybe they're in, maybe they're out. Cause this kind of like teeter-totter seesaw
Yes.
type of baseball is silly and stupid, and it's
Right.
not going to get you anywhere.
Well, and you've got Aaron Loop on the IL right now, and it's like, are you going to hang on to him? Are you going to see what happens when he comes back? Is that going to be a disaster?
Right. And we're just waiting for that to happen. Like, that's literally what we're waiting for is he's going to blow it, and then they're going to go, okay, he's gone too.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, they have to make that decision beforehand. Like,
Yes.
they can't wait until he blows a game. Because
Right.
Phil, he's going to blow a game.
Mm-hmm.
Loop is going to blow a game. So be prepared for that, Angel fans, because he's going to blow a game when he gets healthy.
Speaking of good vibes, Logan O'Hoppe was there. I think there was a great replay of Zach Neto's pop-up bobble catch double play, and Logan was in the dugout going, whoa!
Yeah.
So that was great to see. Jared Walsh should be back soon, Mike. He had some rehab starts over the weekend. So, the good vibes are on the way, I think.
Jared Walsh is going to help us start a winning streak. That's going to happen.
There you go.
Hit record on that one. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We know that you need us, and we need you because we need some positive vibes, and we need to think through this critically and reasonably. And the Angels are playing the Orioles today at 3:35. It's Ohtani Day, so we're thinking that maybe today could be a victory for us. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to get at us on social media. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, let's talk about Ryan Tepera. I know that he's gone and nobody wants to talk about him, but one of the things that we need to discuss is why the Halos waited so long with Ryan Tepera. There's a stat that they were paying attention to that I think that they need to not pay attention to, and they need to make the decision. So we're going to talk through what the Angels should do. They listen, so we're going to tell them what to do. We're going to talk through that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Stats? You mean buckle up, nerds? We're going. It's stats time?
Let's go.
All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us tomorrow, and we appreciate you being here. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Angels, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.